Hello everyone, welcome to the first video in a tutorial series about making your very own 3D printed fursuit eyes. I will go over the process of getting the desired shape, 3D modeling process, and the 3D printing, all to make your very own fursuit eyes just like these. The first step is to remove any pre-made eyes and any removable parts to make it easier while working. This first step is not going to apply to all of you, but it does apply to me since I already have eyes and have more removable parts that would get in the way while working. Once you have done that, you're going to want to grab some cardstock to get the shape of your eye socket, although paper would work as well. You're going to cut a piece of cardstock into a rectangle that is slightly taller and slightly wider than your eye socket. You now are going to want to cut the corners of the rectangle to approximately fit the eye socket. Once you have done that, you are going to want to chamfer out the sharp edges to fit the eye socket. The final shape does not need to be perfect, and it is actually better to leave a little extra width to the final shape. Leaving a little extra width will give your eyes a snug fit and prevent them from falling out. Your eye socket template is now complete, but there is one final step in this part of the process. You're going to want to get an idea of where the iris is going to sit and some basic measurements from there. I have this pre-printed stencil that I made because it is elliptical and hard to come by in everyday objects. However, if your irises are circles like most of them will be, even just the bottom of a small cup will work. Keep in mind the position of the iris is not necessarily permanent. We can rearrange the position once we have entered it into our 3D modeling software. You are now going to want to try your best to get the center of the iris marked. This can be done with a ruler, the edge of a book, or in my case, a disassembled caliper. The center doesn't need to be perfect, as we can adjust the positions later. Once you have gotten your center point marked, you're going to want to measure the distance from the center of the iris to the edge of the cardstock in 4 directions that are angled 90 degrees relative to each other. I recommend measuring in millimeters, as this is the unit of measurement that we will be using when we get to 3D modeling. In the end, your cardstock should look something like this. The final step is to take a picture of your cardstock. You're going to want your camera as parallel as possible relative to the cardstock. That concludes my first video in my series on how to make 3D printed fursuit eyes. If you are interested in the next steps of the tutorial, be sure to like and subscribe. Thank you!